Everybody, my name is Anyi Pan, and today Gilbert's busy, so he asked me to give a talk that I have presented with him in the audience. And the title of the talk is The Expediency of the Bodhisattva Path. And this is a paper that I researched on for quite some time, and mainly because I was intrigued by the role of Pure Land in Mahayana practice. And we all know that the goal of Mahayana Buddhist practice is to reach Buddhahood and fulfill Mahayana altruism. But the question is, how does Mahayana Buddhism develop the theories and practice to achieve this goal? And what role does Pure Land Buddhism play in this context? I began interested in this question because I encountered a few scholars who I believe misinterpreted Pure Land Buddhism in China. The first one I encountered was a scholar by the name of Albert Welter. And he read Yongmi Yanshou's 万善同归集, and he believed that the reference of Pure Land was only in the chapter 1, and therefore he believed that Yongmi Yanshou was not a Pure Land master. And of course, we all know that Pure Land and Chan had some issues probably from Tang Dynasty all the way to the modern time. The next scholar I encountered was Daniel Gates, who was studying a Northern Song master, Xin Chang. And Xin Chang was regarded as a Pure Land patriarch in Chinese Buddhist history. And Gates' conclusion was also that because Xin Chang was not using any of the Amitabha Sutras, therefore, he doubted that Xin Chang was a Pure Land master. And so the problem is both Yongmi Yanshou and Xin Chang had long been regarded as Pure Land masters. And so how come in our contemporary time we understand differently from ancient masters? And another question is, what is the meaning and purpose of Pure Land Buddhism in the context of the Bodhisattva path? And so I began my quest this way. And then I mostly encountered in early research in Japanese literature, which mentioned the idea of easy path. And so I went deeper into the easy path to understand why Pure Land is related to easy path. What I found was a text that was attributed to Nagarjuna, and Nagarjuna talked about the easy path and difficult path. And one important thing was that he believed that those who rely on faith in enlightened beings as the expedient means and easy path to reach non-origination swiftly. So this is what he meant by easy path. And Nagarjuna was speaking in the context of Bodhisattva cultivation and relying on faith in enlightened beings. He meant to invoke their names. And the Buddha that Nagarjuna promoted the most was to invoke Amitabha's name. And that's how Amitabha became sort of the foundation of Pure Land practice. And based on Nagarjuna's teaching, many generations of Chinese masters began to use this concept of easy path, or the Tali, which means the grace of the Buddha, or the salvific power of the Buddha, to reach Sukhavati, and then to eventually obtain the non-origination stage of the Bodhisattva path. And then after that, it is required in a way that these great Bodhisattvas will return and to save sentient beings. So Tainan was the first one to use the term Tali, or relying on the salvific power of the Buddha. At this time, the theory was still rather simple. But by the next generation, we began to see the masters begin to combine invocation with other practices. For example, in Dao Chuo's teaching of the 7th century, he combined invocation, repentance, and merit good deeds as important in the during the Mapo, or the decay of the Dharma. And he singled out invocation as the essential path among myriad Bodhisattva practices. So in this context, we know that Dao Chuo emphasized invocation as the primary practice among all other practices. By this stage, we still see this theory was kind of primitive. When we get to the next generation, Shandao, who was early 7th century, he actually advocated a joint cultivation of primary and auxiliary practice. And the primary is both invocation and visualization. And the auxiliary, basically any other kind of bodhisattva conducts, including the 6 paramitas. And then following that, we also have Ciming Huizhi, who maintained that Nianfo Sanmei and myriad bodhisattva practices were essential methods of bodhisattva cultivation. So given this many generations of masters required invocation as part of the practice, we know that Pure Land Buddhism had always been considered a very important part of Buddhist practice in China. It was never sort of separated from the rest of the practice. And in the Middle Tang period, Tiantai school began to engage in Pure Land practice. And Tiantai at this point was still very interested in meditation. So we're going to see how they combined various practices of the Bodhisattva path with visualization practice, particularly. For example, Fei Xi, another master who incorporated the easy path and the grace of the Buddha into his teaching of Tathagata Gaba, Mind Only Pure Land, and his joint cultivation of nominal and phenomenal expositions. So here we begin to see somewhat a combination of Tiantai and Huayan theories combined with Pure Land practice. And Fei Xi regarded Amitabha, the current Buddha, and even during Mofa, or the decay of Dharma, there's still a Buddha that sentient beings could rely on, and this Buddha resides in Sukhavati. And Fei Xi's joint cultivation of the nominal and phenomenal sort of reinterpreted Shandao's primary and auxiliary practices. And he again combined the nominal and phenomenal into his theory, and basically regarded Nianfo as relying on nominal, and all other practices as phenomenal practices. And Fei Xi also did one thing that was very important in Chinese Buddhism. He coined this term, "Merry good deeds have the same goal." This is a term that later Yongmi Yanshou used as the title of his book. So given the history of Pure Land practice and the theory that was built up to this time, we know that Yongmi Yanshou didn't invent this term. He actually succeeded, inherited a long tradition of Pure Land practice in China. So during this time, Yongmi Yanshou's time, he regarded the practice into two separate components. One is Li Ru, enter through reliance on nominal, and Shi Ru, enter through the reliance on phenomenal. So basically, it's the same structure, just using different terms. And he designated visualization Nianfo as the sole primary practice, with invocation as the most important auxiliary practices. So one can see how Tiantai influence was very strong at this point. And Yongmi Yanshou also made the visualization sutra a key component of Bodhisattva cultivation. And according to him, practice of the 16 visualizations achieved the high rebirth, whereas invocation could only lift sentient beings to a low level birth. There are 9 grades of birth, which we'll talk about later. So in both Yongmi Yanshou's writings, Wanshan Tongguiji and Zhongjin Lu, he emphasized visualization because beginners had not learned how to fixate their mind. How can they meditate except on phenomena? So basically what Yongmi Yanshou was saying is that relying on something that we know and gradually deepen our practice to something that one can contemplate in mind. So what he said was relying on an external realm as the object of visualization assimilates one's mind into the realm that has entered into one's mind contemplation. This is the expedient means to derive from the phenomenal world, but it is nonetheless produced by the mind. So I guess most of us here are familiar with this concept. And according to Yongmi Yanshou, the ultimate goal of visualization is to realize that self-nature is the Buddha, that there's no difference between mind, self, and Buddha. So this basically is a very important concept in the Visualization Sutra. In fact, it's stated in the 8th visualization. And it is also a teaching come directly from Avantasaka Sutra. So here we can see how in the Chinese construct of Pure Land practice, it was not just relying on only the Amitabha Sutras. It was a combination of many theories from different sutras, and in the end, they're pretty much the same. So Yongmi Yanshou also regarded that among all the various auxiliary practice, penance rituals were the most effective because they eliminate serious hindrances. So this penance penance ritual that he was talking about is actually a Tiantai penance ritual that one will set up a ritual site and practice 6 times a day. And the 5 penance of the 6 sinful senses. And this is a very diligent practice that requires a person to do it every day for 6 times. So from that point on, we see how Tiantai involvement in Pure Land practice was combined with penance ritual. Particularly in the Song Dynasty, we have 2 very important Tiantai masters, Shi Min Zhi Li and Ci Yin Zun Si. They were Tiantai masters, and they utilized Pure Land practice with their penance rituals and designed their practice programs this way. So in their practice, they required a 2-chambered structure for the practice, and which embraced the principle of non-differentiation between nominal and phenomenal. We have seen how previous masters used these 2 terms. One is the other shi. One is nominal, the other is phenomenal in the practice. And the nominal is usually referred to the visualization, and the phenomenal is usually referred to the penance rituals. So in a Song Dynasty painting, I don't know if you can see it clearly, that these structures of this front hall is rectangular. The back hall is a round structure. So these 2 are combined together. And this is an example that I found could be an example of the ritual site that was built in the Chinese Northern Song period. So in Shi Min Zhi Li's teaching, he defined the visualization component of penance ritual as the primary practice, and the rest of the rituals as auxiliary, and referred to these 2 practices as joint primary and auxiliary practice. And a term that Yongmin also used as one of the 10 meanings of married goods have the same goal. So Fei Xi coined the term, Yongmin also continued to use this term, and Pure Land practice continue to be part of the Bodhisattva path practice in ancient China. And Shi Min Zhi Li viewed visualization in general as the devotee's dependency on the grace of the Buddha. And this sutra is the means of dependency on good causes and on the wonderful expedient method of the Buddha. So in this structure of Tiantai practice, these masters relied on the 1 mind 3 insight Tiantai theory and mind only concept from Huayan and Chan, and they regarded visualization as relying on Shi, the phenomenal, to reach Li, the nominal. And in 2 manuals that the 10 procedures are grouped into 2 parts. According to Shi Min Zhi Li, the first 9 procedures, I won't read all of them, but they were considered cultivation based on phenomena. And the last one, visualization practice, was considered cultivation based on the nominal. And so here, in this structure, you can see how the front chamber could be designated for the the cultivation based on the phenomenal, and the visualization is designated in this special space in the back. Okay. So for the first 9 procedures, the front chamber of the ritual site should be adorned with a copy of the Lotus Sutra or with a canopied statue of Amitabha on the altar. So this is a requirement for the ritual site in the front chamber. In the back chamber, it's actually left empty for visualization practice. And the only item that was allowed in this space is a roped bed. I will interpret this as a raised platform, and it's for meditation. And according to a Southern Song Dynasty monk, Zhongxiao's Lebang Wenlei, this is a Pure Land text. He documented that Chiyin Zunshi built a hut for visualizing the setting sun in 1020 at Tianzhu Monastery, and wrote a commemorative text on visualization on the setting sun upon its completion. Visualizing the setting sun is the first of the 16 visualizations. So that's a direct reference to the Visualization Sutra. So we know that they used the sutra for their practice. So up until the Northern Song period, until Siming Zhili and Chiyin Zunshi's time, it is more common that these masters built remote ritual site for practice, and it was not a communal practice. But according to what we found out in historical texts, that the next generation of Pure Land, and the next generation of Tiantai monks begin to forge isolated 2-chamber ritual spaces in favor of multiple visualization quarters. And this would mean that there was a communal spirit in their practice. For example, we have in 1086, a famous scholar Yang Jie composed a text to commemorate the completion of Amitabha Treasure Hall in Chongya's monastery in southern China in Qiantang, modern-day Zhejiang province. So this hall, housing an Amitabha Buddha, was surrounded by Bodhisattva representing the 9 grades of birth. That's a direct reference to the Visualization Sutra. And also a set of Tripitaka. And then adjacent to the lotus pond is the main hall. And then next to the main hall are these individual visualization quarters. This is a diagram I asked my student to design for me based on the text. And then another text also in the Southern Song shows that Jieran built the first complete set of quarters for the 16 visualizations at the Yanqing Monastery in Siming. This was completed in 1100s. And when it was done, there were 60 of these visualization quarters. So one can only imagine how massive this compound was, and how popular this practice had become in early 12th century. And in the center of this compound is a Buddha hall in the center. Because the main text used the term Huan, which means encircle. So I had my student draw up this diagram to show that the Buddha hall is in the center, surrounded by these visualization quarters. So my understanding, based on this diagram and this description, was that the communal practice, the 9 practices will be in the Buddha hall. And then after that, practitioners will go back to their individual quarter to practice visualization. So the 2-chamber ritual site was also spread to Japan. There was a monk who came to China in early 12th century, Shungzhou, late 12th century to 13th century. Shungzhou, who noticed this practice was very widespread among Tiantai school. And after he returned to Japan, he built a similar visualization compound modeled after Chinese examples. And in early 13th century, he composed an essay titled Torin Shichiroku Kando. Basically means the visualization halls of the 16 visualization halls of the Donglin Monastery. Donglin Monastery is regarded as the first monastery of Pure Land practice in China. So he made that reference. And he also indicated that the 2-chamber huts were built by Si Mingzhili and Ci Yun Zhenshi. So we can trace this back to a 10th, 11th century origin of this 2-chamber practice in China. So at the center of the practice, the primary or the nominal practice was based on the Visualization Sutra. Because this is a very complicated practice, I think I will skip each individualization in this lecture, but I would like to introduce you to a mural of the 16 visualizations so you can get a sense of what this is about. And I rely on this mural from K45 from Dunhuang during the Haitang period. And the sutra itself has many illustrations in the Tang Dynasty. It was a very popular sutra. And the sutra is usually illustrated with 4 parts. In the center, as you can see here, is the depiction of a Western paradise with Amitabha Buddha seated in the center. Avalokiteshvara is on one side, Mahasammaprapta is on the other side. This is a sort of a standard triad of the Western paradise. In front of the Buddha are musicians and dancers, and then surrounding the area here is actually the lotus pond where souls of deceased is supposed to emerge in Western paradise. So this kind of pictorial structure was very common among all Pure Land sutras. There are several of them. But Visualization Sutra is different in a way that it talks about the cause and effect, talks about karma, and also talks about practices that help practitioners to release from the cycle of samsara. And so how this was done was by the story of Queen Vaidehi. She encountered difficulties. For example, her husband was jailed by their son, and the son would prevent her from visiting her husband, the king. So the queen couldn't understand what was going on, so she asked the Buddha, and of course the Buddha explained that was something happened in the past, resulted in the situation that she was facing. And the way to get away from or depart from this suffering was by the 16 visualization. The 16 visualizations are divided into two parts in the illustration. The first 13 are usually rendered on one side, and then the last 3 are usually rendered on the bottom here. But most of these bottom parts are damaged because they're very close to the ground. So the 16 visualization starts with visualizing the setting sun that we talked about, and gradually deepened into visualizing the water, turn the water into crystal, turn the crystal into the ground of Pure Land. And from that point on, one began to visualize the trees, the pagodas, the buildings in Western Paradise. And then get to the 8th visualization, you actually visualize the Buddha and the Bodhisattvas, and visualize your mind creates these Bodhisattvas and Buddhas. And so that's a very important teaching in Huayan and in Tiantai, and also in Chan. And so here we can see how Tiantai will use the concept from the Visualization Sutra in their meditation practice. So up until the 13th visualization, it was all about self-cultivation. I suppose in our Chan practice, we'll see this as the almost reaching enlightenment. And then the last 3 visualizations about the 9 grades of birth. The 9 grades of birth are based on a person's karma, the social status, to be divided into 9 levels. And this part is damaged in most examples, except for this one I'm showing you from a mural from Dunhuang that shows the Buddha and his entourage coming down and then take the deceased soul back to Western Paradise. So this concept of welcoming descent became the foundation of Pure Land art, particularly in Japan. For example, here we have one example of the Japanese Pure Land rendition of the welcoming descent of the Buddha accompanied by 2 bodhisattvas. And this particular type of Pure Land painting is called the Yamagoshi Raigo. Yamagoshi means over the mountain. When this painting was depicted, the capital of Japan was in modern-day Kyoto, which is a basin. And so they imagined the Buddha will come from behind the mountain and over the mountain to take the soul of the deceased to Western Paradise. So that leads us to a very interesting ritual revolving around death. For practitioners who practiced Pure Land, recite or visualize the Buddha, the final stage of life, of course, according to the sutra, the Buddha would come down to bring the soul of the deceased to Western Paradise. And in ancient Chinese texts, the earliest I could find was in a Tang Dynasty monk Dao Xuan's commentary on the precept 十分律 as part of procedure for caring for a dying person. And in this text, it particularly mentioned that the monk will be brought to a special quarter called the Hall of Impermanence, and usually located in the northwestern corner of the monastery. So located because it was close to the sunset, and that, of course, is connected to the visualizing the setting sun. Also imply impending death. And west, of course, was also the direction of Amitabha's pure land. And inside this hall was a golden image of a standing Amitabha facing the west. And this Amitabha raises his right hand while the left hand pointing down. And this is very much like the mudra of welcoming descent that we see often in East Asia Pure Land art. I think the most surviving examples are in Japan, some in Korea. Very few Chinese examples still extant. If they still extant, they are collected in Japan. So in this hall is set up with Amitabha Buddha facing the west, and there are other requirements too. For example, the dying monk is going to be lying behind the Buddha because it is understood that this monk had been chanting the Buddha's name throughout his life. So he knew the Buddha, and perhaps the Buddha knew him as well. And the thing to connect the Buddha and this dying person is a 5-color rope, and the rope is attached to the left down-pointing hand of the Buddha, and was held down by the dying monk. So one can imagine the kind of ritual that would be practiced in the Hall of Impermanence. If you look at this painting here, there's some fuzzy things around here, and the Buddha is holding actually a string, and I presume that in the ancient time they will attach the string to this hand, and then will be held by the deceased monk. Of course, this is a Japanese example, which is different from the description you see in Chinese ritual regulations. So we know that this practice was very popular, and by the time of Fa Zhang, he had also advocated a kind of practice to encourage fellow practitioners to offer incense, to play chimes, and to chant Amitabha's name on behalf of the dying person. So this is the beginning of assisted chanting tradition that's still very popular today among Buddhists. And Fa Zhang believed that this ritual ensured the deceased rebirth to Pure Land, and his fellow practitioners would be privileged to behold the glow of the Buddha at the moment of transmigration. So it is actually depicted in a lot of Japanese paintings of this kind of radiant light coming from the sky. Okay, so by the Northern Song period, Chinese adherents had adopted this practice so much so that the Lu master, the precept master Yuan Zhao, talked about how they built these halls facing directions other than west, and I gave these halls very inappropriate names, such as hall for extending life, and had altered the original practice to some extent. This also shows how popular this ritual had become, and the variations that have been designed. Of course, from the precept school, these were a violation of the principles. And this tradition was also copied in Japan. In my research, I found a retired Professor Jacqueline Stone from Princeton, who had done a lot of research on Japanese death rituals. And the Japanese death ritual began with Genshin, who was a very important Pure Land master, who wrote a book called Ojo Yoshu, which means essential of salvation. Genshin's time was Shi Ming Zhi Li's time, sort of in the Northern Song period, and he wrote letters to Shi Ming Zhi Li asking questions. Unfortunately, we don't know much about the back and forth communications. There are only a few words that we know, not enough for us to make educated guess. But in any case, we know that the death ritual was also spread to Japan. And in this depiction that you see on the right, you see that a monk is lying on his right side, and the radiant light coming from this image shining on the monk, and there are monks and lay practitioners surrounding the dying monk. So this is a very vivid depiction of the death ritual that was practiced in both China and Japan. And here is another example of the light coming from clouds and go all the way above the painting on this monk, dying monk. And surrounding the monk are practitioners who are probably doing the assisted chanting in their practice. Here's another example that we have seen before. As in China, the death ritual also get very elaborated in Japan, and this was kind of expected in both China and Japan, that Pure Land practice became popular, and the death ritual also became more and more elaborate. And I think that's it for my presentation. I now open the floor for a question. Hi, Harry.
Yeah, hi, Ani. Thanks. That was really quite something. Uh, didn't know very much about that. A couple questions. So at first you were talking about visualizations for higher births rather than lower births, and why would someone even want a higher birth when they could have, a birth in the Pure Land, right, which seems to be like in some ways outside of births. And what do you have any idea what their understanding was if Pure Land was a final destination, or was it kind of a practice ground to then return, if you're a bodhisattva?
Well, I think this is the part that probably contemporary practitioners don't quite understand, is that Pure Land is the means but not the end. Pure Land is a place where supposedly everything's pure. All you encounter are enlightened beings. So it's a place where it'll be easier to practice, easier to accelerate and get to the non-origination status. And at that point, one can return to continue the practice.
So is it your vows that pull you away from the Pure Land? Because you're probably having a really good time there.
I think once you get to the 8th level of the Bodhisattva path, you won't regress. And so no matter where you are, that fits into what we call the my only Pure Land already, that you can be anywhere without having to worry about being affected.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Hi, Annie.
Hey,
Yeah, I have a question. I think you had mentioned in Japan, but I don't think that's a practice in China or Taiwan, that they tie the 5 colors flag with
rope.
a rope.
Mm-hmm.
Rope. So what the rope look like, and to cover the death body?
No, the dying person will hold the rope during the ritual. So the idea is that at the moment of death, the Buddha will take him to Western paradise.
Yeah, but I think you mentioned it's the death person. It's it may be ready to die, but not yet, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like in impairment, but I remember you say it was behind the Buddha, or behind. Yeah, it is. Did you say behind the Buddha?
Yeah.
So actually, it's not facing the Buddha, like the way we practice in Taiwan or here.
Yeah, the original text from Tang Dynasty mentions it's behind the Buddha.
So it's the Buddha's face. The dead person is in behind his structure. I mean, statue.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. The Buddha is facing the west, and then behind the Buddha is the dying person.
And then the people who help assist him, what we call 助念, prayer group, are they facing the Buddha, or are they facing the dead people?
That was not described. That was not described. In Dao Xuan's text, there was no assisted chanting. Only in Fa Zhang's text we find that. So I think it was probably a later addition, not the original.
So the picture you show, you display, was the after Fa Zhang?
Oh, those are much later ones, because we don't have the early depictions. What we have only from Japan and much later.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So I have one more question. Do you pray? Are you invited to a prayer group at your area here in Damajan?
No, I'm quite alone in my practice in this area.
All right, I see.
Yeah. I'm surrounded by Christians. Ian, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I had a question. Well, first of all, thank you very much for this presentation. It's really kind of mind-boggling to me to see just how much investigation you had to do in order to find all of these things out. But what I was really interested in is what effect on your practice did doing all of this research have? Did it change the way that you approach your practice? Did it introduce some new elements? Yeah, I was just curious to how it affected your practice.
Okay, I'm primarily a Chan practitioner, um, and this research was a, a, a research that I've done for a long time, and the purpose of doing this is to try to understand what Pure Land meant to Chinese Buddhist practice. In my own practice, I chant the Buddha's name, but not for the sake of seeking a rebirth in Pure Land. And um, in my own meditation practice, I use Huatou, who is reciting Buddha's name, but that has nothing to do with Pure Land practice. I think it's a sort of a separate yet parallel path there. I don't know if that answers your question.
I was very happy to receive the answer. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Robert?
Hi, Ayipan, thank you very much. I enjoy listening and carefully looking at the pictures and what you presented. I went to Dongning at Lusan, the 700 years ago, the original first site of this Pure Land practice. And I have been, before I meet Gilbert in 2017, I was a Pure Land practitioner. I mean, not a very strong, devoted practitioner, but I've been practicing since 1986. I find it very useful to practice both. I didn't know until I met Gilbert. Pure Land practice, it helps build a person's or a sentient being's faith. And it's funny, once you build the faith, and as you chant or you chant Buddha's name, or as you practice the sitting, uh, it's easier to be quiet while you are alert. See, what Gilbert taught me over the last 5 years is I think it's an awareness. Is this literally this word awareness? Whereas in Pure Land, they don't talk about awareness. They don't talk about self. They don't talk about right view. They don't talk about uh, the going back, everything going back to zero. If they don't talk about things don't exist, it is empty. They don't talk a lot. I mean, literally, they don't talk about much, but the monk and the books that they explain, they keeps on building up your faith. Every sutra they refer to is about building one's person's on the faith. And when you practice Pure Land, you started to have a very extremely strong faith, but it is not a blind faith. So when I start practicing Chan, then I found out that, oh, Chan help us kind of harness the ego, harness the illusory dreaming mind. And this is exactly what Pure Land is missing, because as I was chanting with about 10,000 of those people, like circling the Buddha in Dongning, some people are very, very uh, concentrated, as if they're literally in a walking Chan mode. You can tell they are literally walking in a Chan mode, but they are very aware of where they are, how they walk, how they steps, and everything. It's all surrounding. But there are people who look up, who look down, or who walk wobbly like this, looking up, looking down, coughing, sneezing. So, but over time, some of those practitioners, I saw them slowly, kind of calming down, and to a point that they're almost like a walking chant. So I have I mean I have the luckiness to be able to meet Tama Drum Mountain organization, and Chan brought me into a world where there's no such thing as this is better or that is better. They are both a practice. But having both practicing both, I find that both kind of complement each other. So I'm so happy to see what you presented today. That kind of helped me have a better understanding and how to, I would say, continue my chant practice. Uh, and going forward, I really appreciate what you presented today. Thank you, Anipan. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. I think I have two ways of sort of commenting on this, not necessarily counting what you said, but to complement. One is that if you are in New York City area and you want to practice chanting practice, the Chai Meditation Center does have a regular Pure Land practice. And if you go and practice during that process, you will feel once you sit down, very quickly you can calm your mind. It's actually very effective. They also have 5-day, 7-day Pure Land practices, usually held at the retreat center in Pine Bush. Those are also very helpful. Another thing is that in time practice, a lot of people use just chanting the Buddha's name as the method. And it is very much like a huatou. I think the modern master Guangqin, who reside in Taiwan, always tell people to use chanting the Buddha's name as a method. And it's pretty much just like using a huatou to use it as a point of focus. So one is not distracted and create bad karma that way. I think also Master Sun Yan advocate Nianfo for the purpose of not, you can reverse your karma in any moment. For example, when you're angry, when you're upset, instead of direct your anger at somebody, you can invoke the Buddha's name and resolve that moment that you could actually create bad karma that way. Yeah, please.
Yeah, the two words is very funny. Is doing something until you're not doing nothing. Think about it. When I first sit in Dharmadram Mountain, trying to sit and doing nothing is really difficult. It's like you're sitting, but you're not doing something, but you're telling yourself, don't think. And I noticed when I finally figure out how to sit, being alert, being aware, where I'm actually doing something until I'm really doing nothing. And it is so true. And in Pure Land, they went to the step of just doing one thing. You just walk with 500 people or 1,000 people, walk slowly and chanting the name in a certain rhythm. You're just doing something until you're completely quiet, until your mind completely quiet down. And that is quite, in a way, is like Chan. We're sitting. We're not really not doing anything. We are really actively doing something. It's called awareness, and harnessing that little monkey, the monkey king who is jumping all over the place. That you are harnessing this sentient mind that's dreaming at every second. You're harnessing it. So you're aware and you bring it back. You're aware, you bring it back. You just keep doing something. So both practice are actually very good and very complementary. Yeah, I just want to share that.
Thank you.
Sue has some information on chanting. Sue, do you want to share?
Okay, I got muted. I don't know who asked CMC as a Chan Meditation Center in New York. Can somebody post the CMC link? That's every Wednesday night. I'm not sure it's 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock.
I just did. It's 7:30 to 8:30 Eastern time.
Yes. So you just, it's not in person, Zoom practice. So since I have a microphone, I want to share something with, to comment on Robert's practice, chanting practice. Yesterday we had a Amitabha chanting practice at DC chapter. Yan Rui Fa Si led the chanting, and she played the videotape, Master Sun Yan's talk about the chanting practice. And this is for the first time that I learned actually through chanting Amitabha, for example, Amitabha, Amitofo, Amitofo. You can do very fast beat or slow. And, fast led the chanting. And I was the second one, had the one fish. I had to follow her speed. Now, what Master Sun Yan say, you had to chant it. You had to chant with the voice. I mean, not silent. But at the same time, you need to hear the groups chanting. And then eventually, you will get into unified mind, the group and yourself, and the world, Amitofo. And then further, after you practice, your mind is calmer, quiet. Then it's the group with environment. So it's kind of like a practice with silent illuminations that you and your body, your chanting, your song, and the people chanting with you, the song are the same, one song. And then the inside, the group and the environment all unifies. So actually, for the first time I learned you can get to that point. It's almost the same as the other method. Okay.
Thank you for sharing that. I have practiced once with the group at the Thai Meditation Center, and it is true. I remember after we walked and chant, and then we sat down. It was very quick. Immediately just enter into a state, very calm mind. Sue wants to talk again.
Yeah, I want to share one important point is we were, after we sat down, we were asked to continue the chanting silently in your mind. Now, first round, I was able to do that. The second time, my mind was so quiet that I cannot pick up the chanting. So I asked Fa Si, I said, shall I force myself get out of that quiet mind and continue to chant it? She told me, no, because if you are able to get to that quiet stage, just continue use your method. Most of people, however, cannot get to that point, then they should continue. Amitofo, continue. But silently in the mind, not out loud, because at that time, everybody was on the cushion. After we, walk in, chanting, and then sit down for meditations on the cushion. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Wei Zhang, where are you?
I'm sorry. I don't think. Sorry about that. Sorry.
I without this, people cannot hear me. Can you hear me now? Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm in Beijing still.
I'll see.
But I'll meet a few people at the end of this year in Taiwan. Santha, Ian, Esther, and Gilbert. We're going to join his Taiwan's 7-day retreat. You're welcome to join us.
I still have 5 trips for this year, and after that, I think I'm pretty much all done.
Oh wow!
I hope I can not travel that much next year. Then I can practice.
Yeah, there's always next year.
Yeah. Santa?
Yeah, I wanted to, build on what Sue shared. So the chanting Amitabha Buddha's name can be very much like a huato, and Gilbert gives a slightly different direction. If you get into unified mind with the huato, to just keep even if the huato is not coming up, to kind of like pull it out. And what can happen if you do that with the huato is that, there's an opportunity to see the nature of mind. So that's, that can happen just with chanting Amitabha Buddha's name. Yeah.
Sue?
Yeah, I'm glad Sandra mentioned this, because by the end of the videotape, Master Senyan did mention that when your mind get to this, he did not say unified mind, but he did say at one point, I guess when you and the environment, unified mind, I think the body and your mind, but the environment is, the more advanced level, I should say. Then you, Master Senyan suggests, then we start to, use the what Ani mentioned earlier, who's reciting Buddha's name. So at that particular time, that Master Senyan suggests, then the participants should start to ask the Huato.
So you could do that, but you could also use the Amitabha chant itself like a Huato, like you're like pulling it out and waiting for it to come, kind of the same way you would use the Huato. You could just be chanting also. So that is also possible.
Yeah, I guess either way is fine. Mm-hmm. But what Fashi suggests is not necessary for Yenrui Fashi's answer. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Not necessary, but I guess you can choose either way.
You can choose. So I think the very important thing is the calmness fading away?
No, the calmness is deeper.
Yeah, so that's a very, very important, is the calmness fading away?
No, but if you practice the silent illuminations, your mind is aware. The mind is aware, not going to the concentrated mind, not deeper into concentrated mind. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess for the people who practice, silent illuminations, they are aware of keeping awareness.
Yes. So I'm just saying, if you hit that really calm spot or calm stage with chanting, with Nianfo, and if you just let it go and the calmness is fading, it's a sign that you should go back and then start to use it again.
Yes, Weishao.
Oh, hi. I'm also listening to Santa and Sue's conversation. I think I mentioned this once about using Huatou. Sorry, this is my favorite topic. And there are two different styles. The contemporary master Lai Guochen, he is big on this pulling the Huatou out. I mean, he's describing it as hitting a wall in your Huatou practice. And there's at the time there's no language because your mind is so calm, like Sue described. But he said you just pull it out, drag it out. Just that's a Gilbert style. But on the quite contrary, Master Xu Yun, he suggests you should have a Jinggang Yan, the eye of diamond, meaning you are basically means wisdom to see. Once you get to that stage, you shouldn't use it anymore because he called it 头上安头, meaning you're adding a head on the head already there. It's not necessary. And the Shifu in one of the retreat with the Shifu, my personal experience, I also have that Su's experience. I cannot pull it out anymore. It's just the word will not come out, the Huatou. And Shifu said, you already have doubt sensation. You don't need to use the word anymore. You stay in that doubt sensation. So I think both ways are okay. It depends on your personality, which one you use. But most important is I guess it's you need to have the wisdom to see that and how you deal with it. And that's just my because I read these two things. I personally experienced these, and I just want to share with everybody. Thank you.
Teresa?
Thank you so much, Wei Shang. I'm gonna hit you up for those references. Thank you so much. And I just wanted to say that just in my experience, right, the two actually converge with what you're talking about, where you're trying to pull the Huatou out, which could be, at one point it's not whether you're pulling out Amitabha or whether you're trying to pull out who's chanting the Buddha's name. What you're pulling out is the same. And at one point, when you're trying to pull it out, there's no words anymore. And there's only that pulling, which is that doubt sensation, that there's only that. So the two actually come together. They're not as different as they sound. Yeah. I think there aren't any further questions. I want to thank you so much, Anyi, for this wonderful talk and the ensuing discussion. And Gilbert said that he actually dropped in for a little bit, but he has a very early flight, so he couldn't stay the whole time. He asked, we thank you, but he also expressed his gratitude for your talk today.
Well, thank you. I appreciate this opportunity. Yeah, and it's 10:19. I think if there are no further questions, we can finish today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.